God questions. Honest answers.
Did Jesus really claim to be God? Or was that given to him after he died? Great question that we're going to answer on God Questions.
Honest answers.
I'm Ross, he's Mark, and we're together with you again. Thanks for listening.
That's right.
Wherever you're at, in your car, grocery store.
Maybe your moped,
That would be difficult.
but they could do it.
We're answering an important question today, and we're super excited about it. Before we get there, though, Mark, a little Q&A, okay? Because I think that oftentimes we ask God questions, honest answers, but we don't ask Mark questions, honest answers. So here we go.
Okay.
Or a quick, just
I'm ready.
rapid fire. Okay?
Rapid fire, honest answers. Here we go.
Apple or Android?
Apple,
Indoor or outdoor?
outdoor,
Candy or another healthy snack like a vegetable?
I thought these were honest questions, not dumb questions.
No, this is an honest question.
Okay.
You're candy. Okay, great. Good. Okay, you're going to go out to eat or stay in?
Stay in.
Okay. You want a big house or small?
Big house.
Because you got a lot of kids.
A lot of kids, but lots of people. I want
More
people.
so, I think
Yeah.
you have more animals than kids, though. Is that true? Now?
That is true.
Okay.
But I also want room for all the other people because
Okay.
people should be together.
I
They
agree.
Come to my house. It's gonna be fun.
I agree. That's true. And then last one, honest answer. Do you have more animals than kids right now?
Yeah.
Okay, as always.
As always, all right.
Go back to one of our last episodes. We go through all those animals, and then later on in some other episodes, you can look back, and some have died,
Yeah.
and then some have been revived.
No,
They just varied. I thought there was a turtle in the frozen lake,
no,
or the frozen pond.
no. There's some
I
fish.
thought it was dead. Then it came alive.
That was fish.
Oh, fish froze over the winter and then came back alive.
He didn't come back alive. He just didn't die.
Oh, I see.
That's how.
Yeah, so they can just get frozen, cryo freeze. Okay,
Yes.
anyways, let's get to our question.
Yeah. Let's
Did
get
Jesus
back to
really
the
claim to be
important one.
God,
Yeah.
or was that given to him after he died?
Yeah. So this is. I've
Excellent
heard this question
Yep.
a lot, where people will make the argument that Jesus was just a good teacher, and a lot of these. Yeah, and a lot of these statements where that Christians claim that Jesus is God are things that we just gave him after he died, and these stories of, kind of basically it's like a fish story, like, not that one frozen in a pond, but like a fish story, like I caught a fish this big, but by the time I'm telling you, it's now, this monster fish. And so the same thing with Jesus, where he, after he died, his followers started to make him out to be more than he was.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the where this question is coming from. Is this often kind of argued or debated?
Which is kind of difficult to understand. That. So that theory, I forget what it's called off the top of my head right now. It's like the Mass Hallucination Theory or something like that.
Okay.
But essentially the theory goes that like they made him bigger than that he was. And you think that claim is so... It's hard to understand, though, because the persecution on their lives after the death and resurrection of Jesus was so great. So for them to hold on to such a lie, maybe it was a different theory. But anyways, there's a theory about that, like kind of that addresses that. But anyways, that's a side note. Right. I think that if we go to like, okay, did Jesus really claim to be God, or was that given to him after he died? Great question. I think we have to answer it, go to the words of Jesus.
Yeah.
And it would be really hard for someone to read the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the accounts of his life, to read his words and to not find moments where he does explicitly claim to be God. Right. So specifically in John, we went through a series as a church too on the I am statements. And in each of these I am statements, there's 7 of them, and you go through, and each of these have divinity claims in them, but he uses like a metaphor and a connection point to help people understand. The greatest one is like, I'm the bread of life, or not that that's the greatest one, but just like there's ones that draw a deeper, like, I am the bread of life, I am the good shepherd, I am
The light.
I am
the vine.
Yeah, the vine, I am the way, the truth, the life, all these divinity claims, when you boil them down, that he's making on behalf of his life. Right. And then also just all the point of prophecy to come, at the beginning of John and all that. Yeah. So there's a lot of these different moments and elements going on that show us that truth, that Jesus is God. And he knew that and explained that, shared that many times, and faced opposition for that.
Right.
So I think that would be
And I think those like when we hear those phrases, I am the bread of life, I am the vine, like those don't carry a lot of weight for us when we just hear them, because in English we say that a lot of times. People say that all the time, like I'm this, I'm, my kids, my boys specifically are really into basketball right now, and they're always playing in the front yard, and it's very common that you'll hear them when they're winning make the declaration that they're the greatest, right, or that I'm way better than you. It's like those are like we're familiar with that phraseology, but for Jesus to use that, he wasn't just saying I am something. Like he is using this I am is the name that God gave to himself in Exodus. And when Moses meets God at the burning bush, and God is talking to him out of the burning bush, and Moses is like, who should I say sent me? And he said, and he says that phrase, I am sent you. And so that phrase of I am was reserved for God. So when Jesus makes that statement, I am, like just that, before he does anything else, that simple I am statement is like a mic drop moment where anybody who heard would have like stopped what they were doing and turned to look. Right.
And every person would understand contextually.
Right.
Like, what? No one says that.
Right. Right. So
you're saying that,
every one of the disciples, every good Jewish, maybe the Roman centurions or other, like Roman soldiers, or maybe people from other cultures who had lived in and around that area, maybe they would have been like, what's going on? But any Jewish person, and especially all the religious teachers, would have been like, gasp. So
absolutely.
So that's part of it. So Jesus makes these statements, but anyone who heard knew, which is why, as you read through, like that's why there's all these confrontations with the Pharisees. Wasn't because here's this teacher who's getting more popular than us, or who's threatening. Like it was a lot of them like took issue with Jesus, and many of them, as you read through Acts, a lot of them became followers of Jesus. But initially they were taking issue with him because of what he was teaching, and that they felt like when they first heard it, this is contrary to the law. This is contrary to everything we know about God, and you're claiming that you're a heretic. But then after he proved who he was, many of them, it seems like from Acts, were like, he was who he said he was. So
Yeah, I think in like John 10:31, when they wanted to stone Jesus in the scenario, they were just like, we're not going to stone you for a good deed, but for blasphemy, because you're claiming to be God.
Right.
And so the stoning wasn't just like Jesus was this guy saying some crazy stuff, and they're like, hey, stop saying that, and he kept saying stuff.
Yeah, or breaking the law, right? Like he healed people.
Some other thing. Yeah, it's just like, no, his claim was divinity.
Right.
And that was, in their eyes, deserving to death out of their disbelief. And so I think that's that trigger to show us that, like, he's claimed to be God very clearly throughout Scripture.
Right.
And even so much so they wanted to kill him for that.
Yeah. They heard it and they understood what his claim was, right? All the religious teachers and all the people, they heard him claim to be God, understood what he was doing, and so then they're threatening to stone him.
Yeah.
And there's another time in Nazareth, can't even say that word, Nazareth, when he's teaching and people get all worked up because he's claiming that the prophecies in the Old Testament are fulfilled in him, right? And they understand what he's saying about himself, and so they go to kill him, and something happens, right? Where Jesus, basically, it's not my time, and somehow gets away, and I don't know how exactly that played out, but like they wanted to kill him, and not just because they didn't like him or anything like that. it's because he claimed to be God.
Yeah.
So and that ultimately leads to, as you read towards the end of the Gospels, then you see these accounts of as they are trying any way they can. They can't nail him down.
Yeah.
And so they end up kind of bringing up all these different charges against him, trying to convict him and get Pontius Pilate involved and get the Roman authorities because they want him killed. Yeah. And so again, the thing that's driving them though is not just, again, it's not because he's a popular teacher. It's not because he's changing things. It's because he claimed to be God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so did Jesus claim to be God? Absolutely. And
Yes.
how does he solidify his claim in his death and resurrection, his proven power over sin and death, when he rises again, proves in front of the disciples, 500 others, Thomas? It's great. So I think that, that's the exciting part about following Jesus is you're following someone who is alive, who is the Lord, who is God himself, who has come to bring you into a relationship with him. Right? If you believe, you may have everlasting life, not only for eternity to come, but also in your everyday. And so that's a great question, Mark.
Yeah,
I think that's probably one of the crucial questions in like apologetics of like people who disagree with the Christian faith or disagree, in other areas of the Christian faith. Like that's the source. It all kind of comes down to like, is Jesus' claim true?
Right.
How do we know it's true?
Yeah.
And then when we see the proven truth,
Right.
that truth sets us free. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to set you free on your day. Not like Jesus can, but just in the way that we can, wrapping up our episode. And if you have more questions, you can email mark at ehope.org. But we'd love to hear from you, answer more of your questions, because just as you know, it's God questions and
Honest answers
with Mark and Ross. So thanks for listening wherever you're at. I think we said this in one of the previous episodes, but like I feel like I need to say it again. Like smash the like button, comment, subscribe. Should I start saying that? All the teenagers are telling me I need to start saying this language.
Say that.
They're listening, and so maybe they want to do that.
Maybe.
I don't know. Anyways,
If you don't know what smashing the like button is, I think you just
Ask a teenager.
There's a button that says like, and I think you click it.
like seriously, my my niece and nephew, they tell me like, hey, smash the like button. They say that stuff. It's like their language. If you don't know how to ask a teenager, you see teenagers around, ask them. They'll teach you. Till next time, my name's Ross.
I'm Mark.
See you in the next one. Peace.